Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I'm so excited to have each and every one of you here, except for you. Yeah, that's the one. You stink just a little. Those of you that are just joining us, or in the process that takes place after downloading from iTunes, we've had a first half of the show, and I passed out just a little as I went to the restroom just now in between in celebration. Today, as I mentioned at the top of the previous show, is a huge day for a lot of us around the world, as the series and season, but more importantly, of course, series finale experience is going down in just a couple of hours here. And did a thing last night in Los Angeles, and they did one in New York as well, celebrating Lost, and lots of sketches that were created to mock and celebrate at the same time this brain-twisting teaser of the last 5 or 6 years. Sammy, what is the
6 years? Since,
6 years.
2004.
Sammy, you in fact appeared. If we, I wish we could pull up the clip now, but of course we don't have the rights to it.
No, of course not.
But if you wouldn't mind reenacting just one of your lines,
I can reenact my entire appearance on Lost.
could you? Because I think we have time. For this.
Do we have 6 seconds?
Yes. And action.
Mr. Reyes, what an honor. Right away, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Your friend Damon.
Yes, my friend Damon Lindelof.
One of the showrunners, he and Carlton were there last night.
Yes.
And we spoke about you, and I said, you're going to come on the chat show, right? Because I'm sure Sam mentioned it to you, and he said, no, Sam didn't.
Damon is alive. not a fortnight ago.
No, I tease. So thank you, Sammy, for the recreation. Yes, Lost is the series, and it ends tonight. And so when I heard they were doing this special thing last night at UCB, and Paul Scheer and Rob Hubel were acting as hosts, I said, and they mentioned that the actor who plays the Man in Black was going to be in the show, and I said, I happen to know him for many, many years. Would you mind if I wrote us a sketch? And they said, please do. And we did a little sketch last night, and I don't want to say that it stole the show, but it had to have been one of the highlights of the 2.5-hour extravaganza that was a hour-long show. But it's a joy. And then at some point last night, I just kind of threw it out there, knowing that that we had a guest for today. Would you mind coming on the show? First of all, I said, you're welcome here anytime. I said, tomorrow I'm going to be really greedy. And he carved out some time for us today, and I cannot thank you. Please welcome Titus Welliver. Sir, you are, first of all, you were magical last night, but it was your first time on that stage.
Yeah.
When was the time before that that you were on a stage being as silly and funny as you wanted to?
Never.
What?
Never. Never. Never been given that opportunity. I'm far too serious. So
So
it was my opportunity to disabuse audiences across the world.
Yeah. We had fun with the notion of the audition.
Yes.
For the Man in Black.
Do we have a clip?
Yeah, we do. We're going to go to the clip now.
Okay.
We had sides.
Sammy, roll the clip.
Sammy?
Very good.
We each had sides we held in front of us, and it was famous people auditioning.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be part of the DVD package. They were shooting this thing last night.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
We will receive no compensation
We
for
signed a thing.
the hard work
saying
that we did.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
We have one of those for you.
I signed it.
Did you? Yeah, forget about the...
But the go fuck yourself was in very fine print on this one. That was bold. Disney makes sure you get the fucking right up front.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for last night, because it was very... I had thought it was one of your few times being on stage, being silly and funny. I did not realize it was the only time. Never. But you took the stage, which obviously, as a theater actor, with a memorized script and plenty of time to rehearse, you've done. But this was completely and utterly improvised. So good the fuck on you for pulling it off majestically. Honestly, you went on for a while there and seemingly having a good time.
I was only getting warmed up.
I know.
I smelled the bamboo of the hook. Yeah. I've got other work.
Yeah. You could have been up there for an hour. Easy.
Yeah, I could, because it's,
How addicting was
Because
that?
I'm a shameful whore for attention.
But well, I mean, we all suffer from the "Hey, look at me" disease. That's why we happen to choose this particular profession. One of the many reasons, other than the free therapy.
Right.
But that's what stage is for a lot of us who
Yeah.
just go up there and talk, as opposed to memorize script. It is therapy. You actually have an opportunity to speak your thoughts. But in this case, you were doing Al Pacino. Now, if I may.
You may.
Before we get to your sparkling Al Pacino and relationships therein, we met years ago, but I would like to first talk about your relationship with Mr. Milch, who a lot of folks have seen over the years, and 5 shows of his now?
NYPD Blue, Brooklyn South, Big Apple, and Deadwood.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Deadwood
4.
was the last one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about working with a sort of modern day Shakespeare in the sense that he's reinventing the language into his own.
Without a question.
Yeah.
I went on and did an episode, a season opener. I think it was the 3rd season. It was Jimmy Smith's 2nd season on the show. And I was
NYPD Blue.
on NYPD Blue. I got a call from my manager saying they want to see you for this role on NYPD Blue, and I was thrilled. And I said, "Oh, great! What is he, a detective?" And they said, "No, he's a surgeon." And I, of course,
On the cop show.
I'm not gonna get that role. They're not gonna. I'm the cop. I'm the bad guy. I'm not gonna. Well, that's what they want to see you for. So I went in, and read, and Milch was in the room, and finished, and Milch said. And this is David Milch now. He said, that was great. The part's yours. And I said, really? And he went, yeah. Would you like the part? And oh, yes, very much so.
It just doesn't happen like that.
No, it
in
doesn't.
In the room, as they
It
say.
never happened. So and as I was leaving, he said, don't forget to call your mom and dad. Which I did.
Which, of course, he knew you were going to anyway.
Of course, because
that's beautiful.
And it turned out that 6 degrees of separation. My father taught at the Graduate School of Yale. Went to Yale when David was there, and they had all these mutual friends, which had nothing to do with it. And he didn't make that connection until probably several years later. But I did that episode, one episode, and then I would get these calls every couple of months. They need you to come back because Sipowicz is impotent. So you're going to, so we'd have a scene where I was prescribing Viagra. So it was this great, but what it did was it turned the tide for me in that I was no longer, limited to playing these heavy, dark thugs and cop roles. I got to play this guy who was articulate and was kind and had a sort of an interesting, compass. And then a couple years later, I happened to be on the Fox lot, and I had long hair and a big beard, and I had my hair pulled back in a ponytail, and I was reading for something on the Fox lot, and David rode by on his bicycle, and I said, "Mr. Milch," and he kind of looked behind and didn't stop, and I shouted, "It's Titus Welliver," and he, like a 5-year-old, kind of skidded sideways on his bike and turned around and rode back, and he said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were the deer hunter." And then he said to me, "I'm doing this series about Brooklyn uniform cops. Would you like to do a TV series?" Yeah. So we did Brooklyn South.
Would you mind shaving?
Would you mind shaving and and talking like Hunt's Hall?
Right.
And it was a great experience. Unfortunately, it was 22 episodes, and that was it. But it
still. Again, he likes to offer you jobs in the room.
It solidified my relationship with him.
Right.
And so my relationship with him is that of colleague, but he's my teacher, my mentor, and he's kind of my dad. I mean, he is...
Godfather.
He's godfather to my youngest child, and my kids call him Papa Milch, and he has changed my life as an artist. I mean, when I work with him, the bar is always raised, so I always become better, or I learn something, I should say. And definitely I do become better, because working with David is kind of like being a Navy SEAL. I mean, you got to get in, know your plan, and get out. It's defuse the bomb, grab the president, and bang the hot chick, and then you're on the boat,
And call your folks.
and call your folks, your mom and dad.
Yeah, well, there is something about relationships with mentors and what kind of a difference they have in your life. And to celebrate it as openly as you do is pretty spectacular, by the way. So thank you for sharing that, honestly. Because those of us who are fans of his and or yours don't know these things. So by the time you got to Deadwood, you guys had worked on several things.
We did Big Apple with Eddie O'Neill and David Strathairn and Michael Madsen, which was another short-lived show.
Fantastic cast.
But it was just too sophisticated almost for television. And I think at that time, and it predated 9/11 by a year. And our second season was going to be, the source of our story was going to be terrorism, fighting terrorism. And it was about the sort of, the enmity between the NYPD and the FBI and how these guys are forced to work together. And great experience. And then Deadwood came along. And
so your first thoughts of this Western with the swearing?
I saw the pilot. David showed it at Yale, a very rough cut of the pilot. I went up to see the pilot and to talk with the drama students with David. He wanted me to come in there and just sort of talk about what it was like working with him and his process, because as many people know, David writes as he writes. I mean, there are not completed scripts before you begin shooting. So you better be on your toes. And it's not for everyone. It's certainly not for the faint of heart. You watch episodes of Deadwood, those brilliant soliloquies that Ian McShane would have, where he's talking to the fucking Indian's head in the box. Yeah. And
he must have developed it.
He would have gotten those, an hour or two before he would shoot. And Ian, being the Jedi Knight that he is, would, all right, love, I don't know what we're doing here. All right, I'm going to sit here and then, let me learn it, and then we'll do it. And I would sit there in the presence of this master, two masters. I mean, right. That he's taking David's words, hard as they are, but they're coming out of his mouth for the first time, and you sit there in awe, and absolute awe. But you learn. I mean, fuck it, it's Mount Rushmore in front of you.
Yeah, well, that's just it. You had found a mentor who happened to be not just one of the masters and had proven himself to be a success, but there are very few originals who are also a master.
I had an interesting thing happen with him. We were doing the second season. It was very early on. Might have been maybe the second or third episode. And I was going through a divorce, and it was a really bumpy...
Fantastic time.
Great time to be working. In some ways, it probably saved me from losing my mind.
Right.
And we shot this scene, and I was coming out of the soundstage, and David sort of headed me off, and we'd already sort of discussed the whole scene and had shot it, and he'd signed off on it. And he said, how did that go in there? And I said, oh, it was fine. And the way that only David could do it so very directly, said, you derive no pleasure from this anymore, do you? And I said, it's not that, it's that I've figured it out. And I'm paraphrasing here, but David said something, his hand pressed against his cheek, feeling the sting of the leather from the young man. And the next thing I knew, the next script, the next pages came out, and all of a sudden, here was a whole new direction that this character was going in. That was, first of all, you would never clock that.
Right.
And in came Sarah Paulson's character, the undercover Pinkerton agent who seduced Adams, and it was. And of course, I had to step up my game. I mean, he presented me with this here. There I was.
You want a challenge?
Yeah,
son?
here.
Well, what you're asking for?
And
I believe I have one of those.
And he did. And
he did. Quiver.
And it was.
Again,
it was great.
So few times in one's career do you have any opportunity, let alone as many as you have, at the feet of the master. And also to have this real life relationship with the guy and have him be a part of your family.
Well, he was helping me as an artist, but he was helping me heal internally, because what he did was knowing that I would never use any of my own life experience as an actor. I'm just not that kind of an actor. I can't do it. He helped me exercise a lot of that pain through some of the humor and the pain of the character, and it was a gift. And I remember reading those first couple pages and going, "You fucker."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Turning to your experience and awareness, and where are you in the world of Lost when you hear about either an audition or an offer, or however this came to you? Had you seen the show? Were you a fan of the show? Had you avoided the show? Where were you? What was your relationship?
Well, I'd seen the first season, and of course, like everybody else, kind of went, "Whoa, what is this?" And time and children and work and I didn't have a TiVo.
Yeah.
And I lost track after about a season. Elizabeth Sarnoff, one of the writers on Lost, had also been a writer on Big Apple with Milch and was a writer on Deadwood. And probably hence the reason that you've seen a lot of the Deadwood guys on Lost, called me up and said, "Here's this character. This is what I can tell you. He's a really important character in the Lost universe. Really important. Can't tell you too much. But I'll tell you this." She started to tell me a lot of stuff, to which I stopped her and said, "None of this is actable. So just let me just go." And the scene, actually, it was the scene that we did last night that we spoofed on. That was the first scene, and that was the only thing that I got. I got no other pages of the script.
It was the last few moments of the season finale
of 5
of last year.
Yeah. But
it was the cliffhanger, as it were.
Yeah, but I knew when we were there. I mean, it was when they described to me, well, there's this, enormous Egyptian statue, and the time, we're not exactly sure of what the time is. Pellegrino and I knew each other. We were friends, so there was a kind of ease working together and trust. So that was kind of fun. But
that's shown through.
It's a smart scene because it is kind of obtuse but you're drawn in because you go, "Ooh, who are these guys?" I mean, we'd seen Jacob before, but suddenly the fans went crazy because they all were trying to figure out who they were, and of course it went right to the Bible, and it was Esau, or is he Samuel, or I had no clue. But but I knew when the show aired, and the first time I walked down the street after the show had aired, what the universe that I had just stepped into.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because there's something about taking your act on the road and getting to see people, in my case, after you've been either on talk shows or you've been in a couple of movies where people sat in a dark theater with strangers, and then they would come and have a personal interaction with you, and there was this distance there. But we've come to know what it's like for people after you've been in America's or the world's living room on a weekly basis. There's a familiarity where they get up during the commercial and make themselves a sandwich, and you're in their home, you're in their lives, you're not disconnected. And there you sort of lose, if you are so into the show that it actually is something you want to follow, then your relationship starts to develop with these people, and there's so much information now online if somebody wants to think they can get to know you. But then every now and then there is a freakish phenomenon that occurs from a television show, and it creates a universe of fans who, I don't know when the last time was in my life that the fans took it upon themselves to create not just fan sites, but a separate subtext that actors might do in order to figure out what the scene means. The fans now have taken a show like never before that I can think of, and fill in all the mortar between the bricks that's missing, so that they can go to sleep at night.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Honestly. And then it's a competition worldwide as to who really knows what the fuck they're talking about and who doesn't, which the writers must just laugh themselves
They're
sick
like
at.
Civil War reenactors, right?
yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't a Pickett's charge. Fuck you.
Yeah. So to step into that world 5 seasons in, and also, I can tell you, we as fans, or we as viewers, watching the show religiously, I speak of that group who aren't a part of the fan sites so much as just the show experience, but carry with them their own personal Bible of what they think the show means and like to talk about it with their friends. By the time we got halfway into season 5, we already knew that Carlton and Damon had announced, well, there's going to be 5 and 6, and then we're done. Right. That is to say, we're going to do this many episodes. We're going to break it up into 2 different seasons or whatever. But this is it.
This is it?
Yeah. So we got, which I thought was brilliant. It was like Carson saying, "I'm gonna do one last year, and that'll be it. I will walk away from your living rooms, and we will no longer speak." But that gave you but it gave you a year. It gave you a year to make peace with it.
Right.
So as viewers, we had this time, but it was all right. Now expectations begin, because now all the answers. It was the phenomenon of the show for so many people, other than the relationships and the drama and the soap operas. They gave you one answer. They offered up 3 more questions.
Right.
And it became this tradition every week, which for many of us was reinventing the serialized storytelling aspect that was so wonderful. Mm-hmm. And for a few of us, because I haven't met many people like myself, I no longer cared that it didn't make sense at times. Who fucking cares?
I know.
Will you just let go of that tradition?
Right.
How about how exciting it is that you don't know the fucking answers for a fucking change?
Yeah.
How much do you hate going to movies and watching television shows and figuring out the shit in the first reel?
Yeah. Why stay?
It's Kevin Spacey. Can I just get up now? You know what I'm saying? But seriously, and in life, as it turns out, it's also Kevin Spacey. But how rare is it to have that experience on a weekly basis? So, when Jacob and the Man in Black had their conversation at the end of season 5, it came at a time where so many of the viewers were like, okay, they're going to have to start, because now there's only, 16 episodes left after that?
Yeah.
Season 6 was just 16 episodes. Yeah. It was 16 and 16, I think, was the way they broke it up. I might be wrong. But we just knew that there was so little time left after the end of season 5 that for many of us, or maybe just me, I'll speak because I haven't taken a poll, the introduction to the Man in Black and Jacob was a relief. It wasn't important that I didn't know what they were saying. It wasn't important to me that I didn't know everything. I couldn't read into everything they were saying. What was important was it was the beginning of the episode or issue 1 of the comic book, the origin.
Yeah.
Please, thank Christ, you've begun to tell me the origin. Now at least I can feel a little bit better about how any of this came to be, as opposed to this random plane crash in the pilot. Right. Which I've now had 5 episodes to realize that, no, that was all, that was manufactured and or destined. So, it was a celebration for me and maybe others that the Man in Black and Jacob represented Cain and Abel, whatever the fuck it was. Right. It started to make sense on a level that it needed to if I only had 16 episodes left. Right. So now as an actor, I'm sure she explains some of that to you on the phone, or an essence of it that left you saying that's not actable, because she was probably explaining not an emotion, but rather a mythology.
Well, it was, we don't know if they're mortals. We don't really know what, I mean, it was that kind of stuff, which is very important information for the audience, but it's not, as an actor, it's not going to,
And in that scene, by the way, that's the first thing that comes up. We don't know if they're mortals or not.
Well, and
terrific, but again, how the fuck do you act that?
Right. Well, it was really more about the nature of.
Are you going to add reverb to
Their
my voice?
relationship.
Did that question come up on the phone? When I speak. Yeah. Yeah. Man in Black, you say.
Yeah. That was what it really. That's what that scene was about. Was the nature of their relationship. Clearly, there's a little bit of little tension there.
History.
A lot of history.
Right.
But one being very open-minded, the other being completely cynical.
Yeah.
And
Put a
why?
face on the island. That's what so many of us wanted. We knew that these people were brought here to the island. Put a fucking face on the island.
For what reason? And is it right? Is it just a big chess game that these guys play? Which that immediately started people saying, "Oh, well, they're
Yes.
it's Olympus. They're they're moving all these pieces, and
The casts are imps.
they are and they're not."
Right.
There's that. There
So
is
you're-
that issue. So, but imagine that the Man in Black says, "Do you have any idea how badly I want to kill you?" And he says, "Yeah, but I'll be here. We'll be here." So then you kind of go, "Okay." It's just smart writing.
Oh, yes.
They gave you just enough.
From day one, though. We came to expect that. They did. They gave you just enough. And like I said, the backstory for me was great. Fantastic. Don't give me too much in this first meeting. Oh my God, I'd be so pissed off.
No, of course you would
If they
be.
tried to explain anything in the last 2 minutes of the season finale.
Well, it's not fair, and
year
also
5.
it's not for Lost is not for the post-literate society. I mean, either you want to lean forward and watch television that has.
Was it your mom that said it's edge of your seat
Yeah.
television?
It's just you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem is that so much of this stuff is spelled out for us and it's dumbed down.
They add water. They think
So much water. I mean, it's all water. It's 99% water, and it's
it's celery. That's what it is.
That's a good analogy. Sammy? Vegetable?
Honey, is it celery or
Vegetable
cucumbers
analogy?
that are 90% water? One of the two
Well,
is
celery is you burn more calories by eating it
right.
than you do.
That's a myth.
That's not a myth.
That's a myth. But that you have to. I
No,
mean,
it's totally
Sammy,
That's why I stopped working out and eating celery.
he's sitting over there saying, "My head is a warehouse of useless information, and yet,
And yet,
don't put a smile on your face."
How useless is it? It just
Not.
came up.
It just came up.
yeah, finally, he's been over there. I've been here for 3 fucking years waiting for this asshole to ask me anything that I.
My job is done.
There you go. He's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
Wow.
just so satisfied. All right, so you do that scene to the end of the episode, season finale rather, of season 5. And then there's the break, or did you go right into work? Was that literally
No, there
the summer vacation? So now you don't know where the fuck this is going, other than what they've kind of told you?
I didn't come back until much later. I mean, I was off doing The Good Wife and
Right.
Sons of Anarchy and making another movie, and then all of a sudden I got the call. Oh, you're gonna bounce over to Hawaii to go back.
Yeah.
Oh, great! I've been waiting to sort of hear. Well, that was that kind of thing where you audition for something, and then 4 months later, your agent calls you and says, "Oh, you got that film? What film? You know
Yeah.
the one you auditioned for last year?
Right.
They finally got the money together, and so you're going to Budapest." No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm married.
Yeah.
So, and it was the Nestor Carbonell episode, as I like to call it, because he is so great. I mean, so going back, I can't remember the name of the episode because I call it the Nestor Carbonell episode,
That's all right.
which explained a little bit more. But the fact that they spread it out
Yeah.
and people were still, we forget. The entire time from when the last episode aired, and I'm working on all this other stuff, people are still coming up to me months and months and months and months later and saying, "So when are you going to be back on Lost? When?" Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. All right, I did that episode. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm. What do you mean?
They don't want to hear that.
No, they don't.
How dare you?
They don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
It's just smart writing, like you said.
So give me some of the initial experiences of trying to live your life with the lost disciples who like to introduce themselves to your life.
It is the demographic of this show is broader than anything I've ever experienced before. And I was saying to somebody recently that after the second episode, the Nestor episode, where it was revealed that I was the smoke monster, I was with my kids in Grand Central Station, and this old brother, half a homeless guy, I'm coming out with my kids, and he goes, "My motherfucker, Smokey, what's happening?" And I'm, of course, my kids kind of, my kids are, he says, "Check you out, motherfucker, you a bad motherfucker." And he goes on, and I'm looking at this guy, and he smells, and his clothes are urine stained, and his hair is dirty, dreaded, and this fucking guy sleeps on the street, but he finds a way to watch Lost, which leads me to believe was that he's one of those obsessive fans that he became so obsessed that his family said, fuck it. His wife left him, right? It's me or Lost. And he said, "Baby, I can't," but it calls me, baby. I can't help it, shit.
How's your vodka, by the way?
This is good.
You all right?
It's good.
Yoo-hoo, Larry. So how do you explain that to your kids when the homeless guy's yelling at you?
And he called me nigger. He called me his nigger too several times. He said, "My nigger, Smokey, mother," and then he suddenly clocked my kids and went, "I'm very sorry, boys. Don't ever. That's bad language." And he said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Welliver." Okay?
I'd rather you call me
I
Smokey.
said, "It's okay," but yeah, that was the first time it had been called Smokey, which was disturbing. And he walked away, and I said to my kids, "Well, that was kind of surreal." And my son said, "Called you nigger a lot, Dad. That's just really. What was he thinking? I mean, he's a black man, and he's calling you nigger." "Well, son, let me explain." So then suddenly I turn into William F. Buckley, and I'm, giving a fucking lecture at the Y, on rap. I don't know what. It's surreal. And then we go to the other experience. I'm a runner, right? So I'm running in my neighborhood, and all of a sudden, this bike pulls up next to me, and it's a rabbi on a bicycle.
Sure, because that happens all the time.
To me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he didn't have
There's
the bird's
flying
nest.
nun, and then there's the biking rabbi.
But no, and he was in full uniform. This guy was, first of all, he was brilliant, extremely articulate guy. You know those Jews, they're smart. And particularly the orthy guys, they're super smart. This guy knew, he had it down. He had it all figured out. And I'm running, and he's on the bike. Well, as the more we talk about it, and he becomes more and more animated and excited and is pedaling faster.
You can't keep up with that.
And I realize I'm running about a 4-minute mile now with the rabbi, because I don't want to be rude and go, "I'm going to fuck off down the street here because this is too many questions." But it was a really interesting philosophical conversation that moved from Lost, then to the Quran, to the Torah, to the Bible.
A little bit of Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, baby. I can't. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to do it. And then you have the people who, when I'm running or sitting in my car, see me pull up and will go, "Smokey!"
Yeah.
Or I get a lot of ticka, 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 ticka. Yeah, that. It's all over the place.
You my ticka.
Yeah. Wall Street guys, I'm on the I'm taking the train in Connecticut, and this broker turns to me and says, "You ever gonna get a name?" "Don't know." "Yeah, you know." "Well, no, actually, I don't know." "Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I know that you know, and I'm not asking you to tell me, but you know that you're going to get a name."
Don't say you don't know, is what he was
No,
saying.
I just told you that I don't know. So let's just let that go, all right?
No, we can't let it go, because I know that you know. Just don't talk to me like I'm an idiot.
And then I rolled up my New York Post and beat the shit out of him on the Metro North.
I go get your shine box.
Yeah, now get your fucking shine box. So it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a Beatle for a day.
And not the same thing happened with Deadwood. I mean, there's a fanship.
No, but I got called the first time, and it's always Grand Central Station, because that's where it all happens for me. Deadwood came on, and I get off the train, and I'm walking along, and this cop goes, "Hey, cocksucker." To which I look at this cop. What? And he goes, "Oh, no, hey, oh, sorry. The show." Right, yeah. And I'm thinking, you're the one with the gun. You can call me whatever you want to call
Clearly.
me. But there was a lot of that.
You weren't packing heat that day.
I wasn't. It was a very bad time and I do a lot of traveling by plane because 2 of my children live on the East Coast. So every 3 weeks I hop a plane and I go back to see my sons. And I, of course, had that, long dark hair and the giant beard.
Again with this.
So
I'm
standing there and I take out my driver's license with my airplane ticket. Sir, could you step over here? So this goes on a lot, lot of trips, and finally this TSA guy, because he is the moat between us and another terrorist attack.
The guy who last week was saying you want fries with that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Says
my
to
bit.
me, looks at my license.
He's a government official. Is that your bit?
That's my bit.
That's Jamie's bit.
That's your bit?
I just like to point that out.
Yeah.
That fries with that
No,
thing was my bit.
she's 100%.
careful.
It was in the microcosm. No editor. Sorry, Jamie. That's Jamie's bit. Now it's on the record. All right.
It is seriously on the record.
I sit corrected.
The guy
That's
looks
the way
at my-
we play it here, by the way. There's no festering that. It needs to come out right away, and that's the part I like. I don't like to wait till you get home. By the way, on the show today.
Yeah.
This is my fucking bit.
Let's be straight.
No, I'd rather have it now here in front of everyone, please.
Yeah, no passive aggressive. Let's
No.
just leave it aggressive.
yeah.
I'm a firm believer in
Yeah.
that myself, too.
All right.
Years of the talking doctor has proved me well, right? So this guy's looking at my license, and he said, and I'm fed up because I know what's coming. He says, Titus Welliver, is that a Middle Eastern name? And I erupt because I have no internal monologue. I say, where the fuck did you matriculate? That loud. So now you got a game. So, of course, it's, step over here. Officer, I'm clean. They got me in the room. They got the mag light. They're looking at my hiney. But I was Yusuf Islam for, I hated traveling because, with the beard.
Yeah.
I just should have put on a fucking kufi, you know what I mean? And just been done with it. They were profiling me and it drove me crazy. And then this same guy, about a month later I'm traveling, asked me for an autograph.
Oh, God. Finally did the math, did he?
You know what I told him? Get your fucking shine box. Yeah.
And how do you spell
Autograph your balls with an X-Acto knife. Didn't happen.
Speaking of the name Titus, I'd like to pause in the proceedings just a moment for, if you don't mind, sharing maybe one of my top 3 stories in the history of show business. And, brother, I have heard a few. And that is when Christopher Walken heard the name Titus in your presence for the first time and had a strange reaction.
He did?
You were a fan of his. You were, as it turns out, if you check the record, prior to Jay Moore on SNL, you were the one who was not famously but known in certain circles for doing a Christopher Walken impression. So you're obviously a fan of the man's work for many, many years. You get a chance to work with him on which film?
I didn't work with him.
Not with-
I actually had done a film with Eric Roberts. They were friends, and we were meeting for a drink together.
Gotcha.
And so we go to meet Chris, and he's sitting at the table, and we walk up, and Eric says, this is my friend Titus, and Chris goes, Titus, are you the king of someplace I'm unaware of? In many ways, I am.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't, what I wanted to do was say, do you know how many years I have been, doing an impersonation of you? And it all started with Annie Hall, and it was really that crazy inflection. I don't know if you've ever seen him do Shakespeare.
We just saw the Martin McDonough play with the handing and Shakespeare. I can't imagine.
It's amazing, but imagine that Chris has his own iambic pentameter. He's not going, my liege, I did deny no prisoners, but I remember when the fight was done, when I was dry with rage and extreme toil. And you know, I mean, I know that every dramaturge in the audience is going, right? Suddenly they're stricken with St. Vitus dance. They can't.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what?
Why are there no periods and commas with this fucker? Yeah.
Because it's the Walken land.
So was the Judith Ivey part of that? What was the part where you
Oh,
said?
the swoozie?
Yeah, the swoozie.
That's a filthy story.
Well,
Can we tell it?
that's the one. Yes.
You have good legal
It's funny.
representation
Yeah,
on the show?
We do, in the sense that none.
He he was doing House of Blue Leaves when I was a student at NYU studying with Mamet. We were at Lincoln Center, and they were doing House of Blue Leaves, which Chris was doing with Swoozie Kurtz and a host of John Mahoney. I mean, it was an amazing production. And they had a big opening night party, and Chris was there, and I was a young buck, and completely. This is before I had, had met him with Eric. Predated that by many, many years, and I was outside with him smoking a cigarette, and he, of course, he'll sue me because he'll say there's no public record, so that's okay. Looked inside where the party was going on, inside of whatever the upstairs of the Mitzi Newhouse. It's all glassed in, and it was a who's who. I mean, everybody was there in the business. And Chris said, "I tell you, the great thing about fame, I could walk in that party, I could fuck any girl I want to, and tonight, I'd like to fuck Swoozie Kurtz in her ass." And he goes, "What do you think?" So, of course, quick with an answer, I said, "I think you ought to talk to Swoozie about that." And years later, 25 years later, I'm working with Swoozie, and I tell her this, and her response is, "Oh, Chris." Everybody knows. Expect the unexpected.
Now, here, just to give you an example of how your life has become legend, involving Christopher Walken in particular in this story, and how it becomes more than what actually happened, as legends do. Here's one of the ways those two stories were combined and related to me.
Really?
Yes. Which is why initially, apocryphal is what happens. Why I initially said to you, what was the thing you worked with him on? Here's how I was told you were introduced. You were working on a film that Chris was in, and you were in the hair and makeup truck first, and you were talking to the hair and makeup people, and you were saying, I can't believe I'm going to finally work with Christopher Walken. I swear to God, all of this was explained to me. Wow. This entire thing written, fabricated, but passed down like this is the gospel. Someone didn't make this up and tell me. This was like, I'm going to tell you one of the greatest stories ever. Because I told somebody, I met this guy, and he's a great actor, but he also does a ridiculous Pacino, and he started doing Walken for me, and I know that. So the hair and makeup say, well, when Chris comes in, I'll introduce you to him. And you're like, no, I'd rather. And just then Walken walks in at the far end of the hair and makeup truck, and one of them says, hey, Chris, this is Titus. This is Titus. And Walken said, Titus? Titus? You're not the leader of some third world country, are you, Titus? And you said, no, sir, I'm actually an actor on the film with you. How are you? And he said, I'm famous.
That's
so famous, in fact, Titus, later this afternoon, I'm going to fuck Judith Ivey in the ass.
Oh, this is brilliant.
That's how and then he says, how are you? Yeah, that's how it ends.
That's brilliant.
So famous, I'm going to fuck Judith Ivey in the ass. How are you? He puts it back on you. So it turns out it's Swoozie Kurtz, not Judith Ivey.
Yeah.
It's two stories. You met him the first time with the Titus joke, the king.
No, the first time I met him was at the Swoozie Kurtz thing,
which was just random.
And of course I didn't when I re-met him.
Right. You didn't bring up the Swoozie
because
Kurtz.
anytime you see Chris, hey Chris, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
You're too close. Who are you?
Right.
Scary man. You got a big forehead. Like a gumball machine.
Yeah. Then it goes.
Sorry. Really? Oh, okay.
It goes from there.
Yeah, it goes and goes.
Yeah.
That's completely false, but good.
But how about that? It became that
Bradley Whitford is at the source of that.
somewhere.
Because he's a pathological liar. And I hope he's watching.
Yeah. No. We'll send him a DVD. All right. So, you know what? Let's see what the folks are weighing in with, because a lot of your fans want to be a part of this chat, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We got word to a lot of these sites, the lost sites, that we let them know that you were going to be here. So some of the
They're
questions.
really mean, Kevin.
Well, we have a slight filter system. We're not going to let the mean ones through necessarily.
No, they've never been mean to me.
Well, this is interesting because I think I know the answer, but it's very important for you to share this because it goes along with the sort of responsibility of being a part of a show that becomes way greater than the sum of its parts. At Jamie Maison, or Mason, what is it like having the weight of knowing what happens in loss? I love how they assume that, when so many people want to know. So, first part first, what's it like having the weight of knowing what happens in loss? Well, you certainly know what happens in the scenes you shot.
Period.
Can't imagine how many people have asked you how it's going to end tonight.
Don't know.
You couldn't possibly know, would be my guess.
I don't. I have
Right.
no idea. And it is top secret stuff. When you get a script, it's watermarked.
First
So if
of
it
all.
ends up on eBay, Titus, hi, this is Disney legal. You need very good representation.
Tell the folks watermarks. Your name is literally stamped on every page.
Yeah.
Your name.
My
Not
name.
a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe DeBoss of my own body. So if I'm going to be, and then when I had the sides for the very first scene that I shot, that one scene that we did,
Right.
they sent a PA, when I was done learning my lines, they sent a kid over. It had a special, seal on it, like a dossier, practically, the wax. And I handed it back because it made me so nervous because I had to sign,
Wow.
you can't be talking about this stuff.
Okay, so let's go back to you shot the season finale of season 5, and you knew what happened in the last 2 minutes of season 5.
That was all.
But now you do have the weight of the cliffhanger. Let's talk about a situation where you did know what happened, and when people found out that you were in season 5 long before that episode came out, what's that like? Is there any goings on, or is it so secret that no one really outside your inner sanctum knew that you were in season 5?
Well, it got leaked out somehow because when I got off the airplane after shooting that scene, TMZ was there in the baggage
This is months
claim.
before it's going to come out.
Oh yeah, I had
Or
just
weeks.
finished shooting the day before,
Right.
and I got off the plane in L.A. and there were a bunch of TMZ guys.
they're there every
Titus,
day.
who do you play on Lost? What?
So now I guess the math isn't too difficult. The show's been on the air so many years, and there's been enough DUIs in Hawaii.
Right.
So there's interest.
Exactly, man.
So there's interest, and as much as Desmond tells us, don't worry about it, brother.
Right.
There are things to clearly worry about.
Yeah.
So TMZ knows the flights in from Honolulu, wherever it is you fly back from.
They got me.
They're waiting for everyone who gets off the plane. They see an actor and they say, "What part do you play?" They
That's
probably
when I-
don't know shit.
But I didn't know. I really didn't know. Yeah, they get the manifest, right?
Yeah.
But, maybe I could have been there, surfing.
Right. So other than TMZ, what about when
Not.
folk
Yeah.
find out?
A lot of New York surfers,
Sure.
Yeah. East River. East River Surf Club. Founding member.
I remember.
Founding member.
Just the three of you.
Subway surfer. That was me. 6 train. Rip curl. Anyway, sorry.
Good though. It's important.
good.
It really is. It's Crystal Head, Crystal
It-
Skull, the Danny Aykroyd
I
vodka.
like that. That's good. So much better than Smirnoff.
I say that because we'd like him as a sponsor.
Yeah. I have no idea, and I have no idea what's going to happen tonight. So I get to experience it along with, it's just the stuff that I get to do.
Right.
But
But did you have that run in at all at the end of season 5 when you did know what happened in the last 2 minutes because you were in them? Did you have situations where people?
Well, what happened was the episode aired, and then people started asking me questions.
And then then they want to know.
From then until the next episode aired, and I mean
Until now.
pretty much on a weekly. Several people would come up and say, okay, so the ship, it was in the distance. What period was that ship? Mm-hmm. Was it a Cuddy? And I was going, Cuddy Sock. Cuddy Sock.
Uh-huh. And then we find Allison Janney.
The best.
Is your
The best.
mom on the show.
Yeah.
Which is already weird because you're not dissimilar in age. So
No,
so
not
that's
at all.
fun.
But that was her, the whole thing was that, of course, she never ages.
Right.
She doesn't age because she's an eternal. And how great was she?
Oh, man.
That was
She's so
tour de
great
force.
in that, and I know her work and celebrate her, and as she mentioned to you last night,
Yeah, that you guys are-
I was literally present in the early stages of her work in a project we did that she guest starred on that I was on many, many moons ago. The Morton and Hayes in your 1991. For those of you that want to look back, where are you over here? And she was so great in the first few moments of Lost, like the rest of it, but in the first few moments of Lost, I did not know it was Allison Janney.
Yeah.
No idea.
They dirtied her up and they put,
dirtied her
they
up a
put
little
shells
bit.
in her hair.
Still, wasn't while I went, now the voice is starting to become recognizable.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's Allison.
She was there last night.
In the audience?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that her and your wife may come by.
They were there and they were laughing a lot.
All right. So, here we go. At Gather Persona, we got a tweet 5 for you. Are you familiar with the tweet 5?
No.
David Keckner, take us home.
T5, T5, T5 forever now.
These are a series of 5 questions. They are rapid fire, Coke or Pepsi type of no wrong answer. Tweet 5. Mark Pellegrino, friend or foe?
Friend.
Jack or Locke?
Locke.
Man of faith or man of science?
Man of science.
Now, lame-o, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Spork or Spife?
Spork.
That actually is a correct answer.
How did I score?
95.
Not bad. Dean's List.
Yeah. You said dog?
Yeah.
85.
Oh.
No, I can't help myself. And it's simply because it's universal, but I always boil it down to this, my friend. Which of the 2 species of the dogs and the cats bury their own shit? Which is the only thing that they
cats.
have in similar with humans. Cats are the only species on the planet other than humans that do this.
Yeah.
Why? Got to be closer, higher intelligence.
Oh.
The Sphinx, the Egyptians who believed that cats, the last reincarnation before human was as a cat.
Yeah.
I'll stop now. Yes, Sammy?
I was just going to say, which of those species will smother the young of their owner if they feel neglected?
Wow.
Also the cat.
That's
Sam.
Are you going to hold on to that? She's had enough.
Your dog is not going to...
Was that another? Is that another? You took that bit from her too?
No. She's upset because I just called cats out for being murderers.
Wow. That's heavy. That's heavy.
I'm gonna need some physical evidence on that argument next week, or don't show up.
Let's just go to the pet store right now.
Right now.
And someone grab an infant. Let's conduct a little experiment.
They do that.
Yeah.
They do that. Well, you know.
In literature and fiction, they certainly do it.
Do you bury your? I don't.
I wait for my cat to bury my.
Yeah, that's what I-
Yeah, I got rid of the toilet.
Yeah. Why not?
I have a cat.
Because
that's the beautiful thing. If I had a dog, it would lick my ass.
Yeah.
But a cat will actually bury.
Have you ever had somebody walk in when you were shitting in the litter box? No.
When have you not? You've done it alone? There's always
Scoop away.
people coming and going.
Because it clumps easily.
Wow, you can speak for a dog.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna need a little bit of Pacino. Now, here's the thing. I would like to conduct a little experiment
Let's explore it.
because I believe the same way that I can conjure Shatner from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and now, there are 4 different versions for me. I know this to be true for you in the case of Al Pacino.
True.
That there was a very young, wispy of a man in his Panic in Needle Park days of an Al Pacino that we have to hearken back, unless, of course, we have someone who can conjure a few moments of that. What I would like to do in this experiment
Okay.
is to conduct an interview with 4 different Al Pacinos.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of asking you to be improvise a story and take Al on his own journey, I'd simply like to pose up a couple of questions.
Okay.
If I may. This is not any of the characters he ever played. This is the man himself, and he's a guest on our show today. Very excited to have, while shooting Panic in Needle Park, an actor that I think you're all going to come to know and love over the years. I'm going to go ahead and make that prediction now, as I've seen a little bit of this man's work, and thank you very much, Mr. Pacino, for being here today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And now I understand that you're auditioning for The Godfather. I know there's a talk about De Niro and a whole bunch of other people.
Well, Bobby De Niro, I mean, he's a great actor. I mean, he's marvelous. Francis Coppola, who's a friend, has approached me about doing a screen test for the. Are you familiar with the novel?
Yeah, I did read the novel.
It's a great book.
Page 27, my friend and I, growing up, would read to each other on the phone as 12-year-olds. It was about Sonny banging at the wedding.
Right, and I'm sure Andy Garcia will play that child someday.
Now, if I may, I need to speak to, welcome back to the show. We are very excited here. We've got one of the great actors of all time who is doing some exceptional work, as it turns out, right now. Vast career already behind him, still a very young man. He just had his 40th birthday, and he was kind enough to stop by and share a few words with us. Mr. Al Pacino, thank you, sir, for being here.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here. It's great. I love that hat. That's a spectacular hat.
Thank you. I just...
Fred Siegel, right? Don't lie.
Wow, that's good.
That's a great timepiece. Where did you get that, baby?
That I actually got that from eBay.
eBay.
Yeah. You may not be familiar with it yet.
No, it's not invented. That's why. Because I'm 40. eBay is 20 years away before.
Easy.
Easily.
Yeah. What are you working on now, sir, if I may?
I'm just finishing up a picture that I did on Frank Serpico, who was a cop who wanted to be an honest cop. But there was a tremendous amount of corruption in the New York City Police Department, and he went public. If you recall, Daley was the mayor.
Right.
They created the Knapp Commission.
I see.
To uncover the corruption, which was rampant.
Is he still with us, Sir Serpico?
Frank is alive and well. He lives in Switzerland. I actually consulted with him before I started to work on the picture.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I see. What do you see as the least likable aspect of the Serpico character as you're now going to portray it? You have to like these characters, don't you?
He's a great. Hey, look, he's an honest man. He is.
Still, there's got to be an underbelly that's.
Well, I'm going to have to grow my hair very long and grow a beard, and then we'll shoot in reverse. So we'll shoot all the stuff later with the long hair, and then when I'm younger, first joining the force, we'll cut the hair.
Well, you have to do drugs in order to pull this off.
I've been doing drugs. I started before Panic in Needle Park. I mean, I was panicking long before Needle Park.
I see.
It's true.
Now, my next guest, because he won an Academy Award for Scent of a Woman 2 years ago. And a lot of people have said that he was rewarded for a career that has spanned many years,
Yes.
most of which...
Right.
Now, let me ask you,
I'm going to take a flamethrower to this place.
when you're training, I'm over here, straight ahead. When you're training for this kind of work, portraying that particular part,
Yeah.
do you in order to really pull off the blind thing, which I think is one of the things about the performance that blew
Very
people.
hard. Very hard.
What's hard about it exactly? If you could.
You're an actor, Kevin. So we're talking. We're colleagues, right? We're in the same racket. We have, over the years, there have been a lot of portrayals of blind characters. The temptation is always to eliminate sight as a possibility. I believe that with my character, my interpretation is that there is milky imagery. So I'll find the coffee cup. What I did was I tried to never focus directly on anything. So the object that I would find the object, and then drink.
What about the people who said
And I would
you got a
gesture,
right?
A lot about,
What about the people who said you got an Oscar for yelling?
Fuck them. These are people. Look, you know what?
There's envy.
Let's be truthful.
Sure.
I should have won an Oscar for The Godfather. I should have won an Oscar for Godfather 2, for Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, not Bobby Deerfield,
Thank you for that.
and Justice for All. I should have won a fucking Oscar for 25 motherfucking movies. But I didn't. And now, they give it to me for Son of a Woman, and I should win it for Heat as well. Right?
What about this notion, if you could be objective,
I can be objective.
with the hoo-ah and a lot of that screaming? Because now everyone is doing that, Pacino. There's people doing impressions of just that yelling. And it seemed to me, what about this argument? One of the world's greatest actors wins an Academy Award for basically doing an impression of Foghorn Leghorn.
That's
Son, I said, son, get me a bourbon.
that's very cruel. That's cool. Here's what I'm going to tell you, because I've been taking a lot of heat for that. I watched a lot of Foghorn Leghorn. Because you know what? Being at the actor's studio, if you recall, I know you have experience there, we all have to find the character's animal. I realized that this character was a big fucking rooster. So I went out and I got all the Looney Tunes. And it started, and what it did was it gradually moved from, boy, I say, boy, look at me when I'm talking to you, acknowledge my presence, blink your eyes or something, to using the airborne ranger, hoo-ah, an expression of pleasure as a tool of punctuation. And there I found the character. But it's true, I did. I watched a lot of Foghorn Leghorn. And,
Do you find it mildly racist at all?
oh, it's terribly racist. But that's, but the clarity of the racism is what I admire. What I admire. No big red lips or blackface, right? Just a beak.
And that, my friends, is a clinic
Standing ovation.
on Al
Standing
Pacino.
ovation.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That is a clinic.
holy crap.
What I was telling people about after last night and discussing it and whatnot and coming in today, and I was, people seem to appreciate when I, in particular, say this person does a good impersonation because I've been doing
You're
it.
the man.
And, well, it's a cornerstone of my stand-up act for many years. So there are very few people that I would point people in that direction. So, but still, I want to give credence to it and immediately in specificity. So I would say it's the nuances. It's not the yelling and the staging and the thing and the carrying on. It is in the nuances, and it is in the stuff you throw away, because that's to any great performance.
Right.
Were you doing, for me, I think the only, because I didn't study dramatic acting, because I came up from stand-up comedy, and because impersonations were the cornerstone, and because I had been mesmerized and had memorized performances of these greats, I learned acting from these masters by being able to recreate moments where I felt internally, oh, Jesus, I actually just hit a place that isn't me.
Right.
And I actually got lost in that character in that moment. To this day now, when I do impersonations, there is a possession that takes place where I'm no longer thinking as myself. When I do Albert Brooks,
Right.
because he's one of my comedic heroes,
Yeah.
I actually think funny faster
Yeah.
in his voice
Yeah.
than in my own.
Yeah.
So it goes beyond mimicry and all of that stuff. And I started to realize, oh, geez, I think I can do this acting thing. That was my sort of training. So coming from theater background and clearly being a fan of people like Pacino, one could only guess. No way to be that possessed without...
You know what? Here, I mean, I'll interrupt you just quickly.
No,
this
please.
is kind of funny because my mother constantly reminds me of this. That when I saw Serpico, it was completely an inappropriate film for my father to take me to see because I was about 9 years old. I became obsessed with Serpico. I read the book by Peter Maas, and I affected that for at least 2 years. So imagine I'm a 9-year-old kid with long hair walking around with a black watch cap,
Talking to girls like this. Hey, how are you?
with my mother would get so fed up with me. She would say, "Stop it," or "You're going to go to my room. You go to your room." To which I would say,
Yeah, you want to send me to my room? I don't care. I'm not care. You know why? You think you can't punish me because I'm gonna go to my room. I got comic books and GI Joes. I don't care.
and I did.
Right.
I mean, I was known to be this.
Yeah. And there's a place of comfort, too, that you go to, actually. I mean, the whole expression of baby talk between men and women in the relationship, what happens is you'll hide behind some sort of voice so that you'll say things that you wouldn't. So that happens, I think, for people who
Absolutely, man.
find these voices, otherwise known as impersonations, that you use them as tools.
When I get angry and I yell at my kids, I sound like Robert Duvall. I mean, it's the same because I don't want my kids to be upset when I'm yelling at them with me.
Right.
So let them be. I told you to clean up your toys. Clean up your room.
Yeah.
Saddle up, Marines.
Yeah. Have you yelled, Charlie, don't surf?
Yeah, all the time. But it's saddle up. I'll say to my kids, eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
And they do this.
Oh, jeez. Here we go with this, Dad.
You're great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Just what I want. Robert Duvall yelling at me.
Yeah, and so as a result, my oldest kid, Eamon, when he was 2, did impressions. He did De Niro, and my friends used to wind him up at the dinner table, and he used to shout at my little 2-year-old kid at his mother, going, "Bring it over here, bring it over, don't overcook it." You know, his mother loved that. But he used to do network. My friend Severio would say, "Give me a little," and this little 2-year-old would go, "I want you out, Deckmucker. If you're not out, I have you thrown out."
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's really pathetic. It's
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. And does that carry to this day with him?
No. If you mention that now, he...
I know what you're talking about.
Do the...
No. I did voices. What are you talking about?
Dad.
Yeah.
It's that. Dad.
Yeah. It's utter embarrassment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I know my non sequitur completely threw off your train of thought. I
No,
apologize.
the truth is, it gets to a certain point in an organic conversation on this show, as you probably found, where we're no longer following a rhyme or reason or rules or even...
I stopped reading those cards an hour ago.
right?
Yeah.
It's fairly easy to let him go. First of all, he can't flip them fast
No,
enough.
he's not. He's slow.
Yeah, right.
Slow.
Yeah,
Even
it's
for
this
a
thing.
midget, he's
and then you see, right? They prefer little people. But he's looking at him. He's looking at him when he's changing them, and he can't read English, and he's over there flipping the thing. They can't even, it's a problem, is what I'm
There's
saying.
got to be laws, child labor laws.
He's 42.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Manila, right?
What
yeah.
is you're on The Good Wife irregularly or regularly?
No, I'm a recurring.
I'll say.
And I'm the biggest hoe in television right now.
Hello.
And Sons of Anarchy.
Now, are you tired of hearing
Big
your
pitch.
agents say top of show? All they have is top of show.
And it's an AFTRA contract.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh man.
Hey, no, you know what? It'll all work out, however it works. I'm just happy because, at least I've been working on these 3 shows. The characters are really, really
Crazy different.
crazy different.
Yeah.
Really good writing.
Yeah.
Get to work with really good actors.
Sorry, we're done. I mean, the money thing is what it is.
Yeah.
There are so few
This ain't 10
actors
years ago.
working, period.
Right.
Let alone working on 3 different shows on
That's
a
good stuff.
semi-regular basis. That's smartly written. That's a trifecta of craziness that
Right.
in itself has to be the reward.
Yeah.
And there's more than enough top of show to take care of one's nut.
Yeah.
So, there's not, whatever, how many boats you're going to ski behind at some point. And life, I think you get to. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the acting, good work is really what I want to do.
No, exactly. You just
good. I want to be able to hold my head high
Right.
and go, what are you talking about, Joanna, man? That was way back.
Right.
I didn't know. The guy wrote a check and showed it to me, and I said, but I want that to be years ago. I don't want that to be now.
Look, you know what? I'm sure if you looked at your own resume, you would.
Nightly, what do you mean? Yeah. My films are playing on a continuous loop on 7 different screens throughout the house.
And you're going.
You have to, you have to ignore. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You gotta love that.
Oh man.
Blessed to be working. It's
So the Good Wife, Sons of Anarchy, and
Lost, which is Adios tonight.
right. Yeah. Now you have to go to a thing.
I'm going to go to a thing. It's a finale, a season finale, a little party.
The show's
action.
creators have gathered some of the cast and families and whatnot.
Well,
And they're gonna
I
have
don't
their
know
own
where
little thing.
my phone call to this party.
Sam, it's weird.
I am as big a part of this show.
You're right.
There are no small.
Give us the line one more time.
Well, actually, I'll give you the end part that
Please.
I missed in the earlier reading.
Please.
Which really, you have to look at me from a distance.
Much more in depth. You're quite in the background.
Quite in
at
the
this
background
point.
for the 42. Order number 42. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No small actors.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, we know a few of them.
Yeah.
I have one in my pocket, in fact.
Yeah, I happen to be one. I can't thank you enough. I know this was very last minute, and to be able to come by and share an hour or more of your time with us, certainly more,
You say that.
means the world to me, honestly.
That was a little snarky.
What, that you
An
spent
hour more.
An hour more. No.
Kevin says, I ask you what time it is, you tell me how to make a watch. Thank you very much.
No, it was very last minute, and I said, please come on the show in the future. And then, like a greedy ass, I said, what about tomorrow? And you went, I'll call my wife. Honestly, but that kind of response is the only thing that keeps our heads
Because
afloat
I
here.
love you and I love your show, and I will come back anytime you'll have me.
Please, please,
Absolutely.
please.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Very excited.
That also the correct answer, by the way. Fuck the tweet fives. That was the correct answer. Now, you may have seen our last guest attempt a Larry King game. Are you familiar with the tradition on the show where the guests are asked to recreate that magical moment
Larry King.
we can all look forward to when Larry loses his shit on the air? The premise being he's 107.
Yeah.
Hell of a career.
I know.
But it's going to happen. He's going to one day share something about himself that none of us need to know. That is the moment that we actually like to have the guest create as we wrap up here. You've got a couple of seconds. That is your camera when you're ready. And to top it all off, once Larry shared something that we don't want to know, go to the phones the way he does. And when you go, the name of the city, if it's funny sounding, might be fun. That's pretty much the only rules. From there, wherever your mind takes you. And I'm going to say thank you in advance.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry King live here tonight. A little something that not a lot of people know about me. I have a proclivity for hiring small children to do macrame in my living room. Plant hangers, sometimes occasional potholder, and my favorite, a vest that I always wear underneath these clothes. Because it offers a kind of security for me. Why, I sound more like James Gregory. The only good human is a dead human. There are exactly 425 card-carrying communists. That's the worst Larry King.
I forgot to point out rule number
sorry.
1. No, rule number 1. You must do a bad Larry King impression.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not kidding.
Then I'm succeeding.
You succeeded
But that's a pretty
wholly.
good James Gregory.
That was great, James Gregory. Thank you so much. Oh my God, you're a superstar. Now, in thanks, I will unfortunately must ask you to sit there uncomfortably while I wrap up to the folks at home into my particular camera, but rather than getting up, sit right where you are. Thank you all very much for hanging in there. We've done a very special 2 shows here today. If you're watching after the fact and not joining us live on the iTunes or where else, you're watching one or the other. But when you get a chance, what the hell? Watch us on a Sunday afternoon live. We've built ourselves up to around 100,000 people joining us live on a weekly basis, which is pretty spectacular considering there's no marketing and no machine behind us announcing to the world that we're here. You just keep finding us, and we can't thank you enough for that. During tonight's proceedings, now going on 2 hours and 40 minutes, the crew has been working diligently outside the walls of this small studio, making the magic happen as much as they possibly can. And at the end of the show, as we do, we like to go outside and just check to see, in fact, what the crew has been up to for the last 2 hours and 40 minutes in this case, and 13 seconds. Let's take a look now. What is the...
Previously on KPCS.
Nicely done.
Oh, my! Oh, my! It takes a while to recover from that.
That was brilliant.
The smoke monster got in the TriCaster. Next week, an absolute joy once again for me, a childhood superstar and has continued on to being a world-renowned artist as well. Martin Mull is my guest. So tune in if you can. If not, more to come in the future. We thank you all very much for being here. Until next week and the next beyond, as always. Oh, one last thing. I want to thank Elaine Ewing, at Elaine Ewing on the Twitter, for doing exceptional work on research and helping us to get the word out to the lost fan websites to let them know that Titus Welliver would be here today. She helped out the week before with some cooking for the crew when Jamie was out of town. I forgot to thank her. So I wanted to make a special point of doing so, and thank Christ I remembered for a change. Until next show, as always, thank you so much, and get out of my face.